With 3 new episodes of The Boys now available to watch on Amazon Prime, and 5 to go, Season 2 promises to be packed with references and nods that might not stand out after a single viewing. Here are a few. The Boys enjoys its television and movie references, whether it's a nod to other projects that the cast and crew have worked on in the past, or having Chris Hansen of To Catch a Predator fame anchor a news broadcast. There are plenty of little things to look out for. In the opening scene of The Boys' first episode of the second season, the audience jumps back and forth between 2 events: Black Noir cleaning up a mess from the end of the previous season, and Mr. Edgar negotiating the conditions of Vought's superheroes operating in the military and the damage they might cause to human life.
Exactly what casualty allowance are we looking at here?
Officially, 0, of course. But cone of silence, 34%.
This is a reference to Get Smart, a comedic 1960s spy show starring Don Adams as Agent 86. In it, a running gag continually resurfaced around Maxwell Smart's desire to speak to the chief privately, urging for the highest level of secrecy by using the cone of silence, a device consisting mostly of clear plastic that would usually lower from the ceiling and cover the heads of both men so they could communicate without fear of being heard. The device, however, rarely worked as intended. About that whale. One of the gorier scenes in the series happens in the 3rd episode of the second season, when a confrontation on the high seas turns into a sticky situation on the beach, involving the deep and a whale. Inside the messy mammal, Hughie has had enough and thinks the best course of action is to give up inside the beast, refusing Butcher's help. Butcher decides to leave him.
Can't leave the kid, man. Pinocchio's staying put.
Fans of The Boys may not have seen Disney's 1940 classic animated film Pinocchio recently, but one of the later scenes involves a handful of the characters ending up trapped in the stomach of a giant whale named Monstro. In an effort to save his friends and father figure, Pinocchio devises a plan to make the sea creature sneeze so they can escape. Thankfully, all Hughie has to do to leave is crawl out of a giant speedboat-sized hole. Anyone who's read the source material for The Boys doesn't need to be told how terrible of a person Black Noir is. The new season of the show reveals that he isn't afraid to murder women, but will we see his other atrocities on display during the series? In the first episode, he's dispatched to kill a super terrorist, and after doing so, he walks into the room of a small child while still holding the severed head. This moment concerned some fans who were in the know, as Black Noir's comics counterpart has been known to cannibalize children on occasion. But here we see him pick up a stuffed bunny and play with it for a moment. This version of the character made for the small screen seems to be different though, even touching his chest, as if moved by the sight of a dead whale. It's a quick moment, easy to overlook, and it probably shouldn't be taken as a sign that Black Noir deserves to be seen as anything but an antagonist and killer, but it may indicate a softer side to this incarnation, or at least the showrunners trying to give him some more personality. Every good superhero franchise needs movies, and when you're in a world of real-life heroes, making sure those movies are actually good is probably even more important. In an episode 3 scene, we see someone pitching the script and storyboards for an upcoming film to the group, getting wrapped up in his own hype when going over the final scene and the big reveal of the ending, where he proudly proclaims,
"Title card, Dawn of the Seven, cut to black."
The phrase itself might not be enough to say that The Boys is nodding to the subtitle for Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, but that isn't the only clue here. At one point, the film promoter suggests Batman vs. Superman composer Hans Zimmer when discussing the appropriate music for the scene. And then there's also the color scheme of the poster mocking up the film's logo. This is an even deeper cut than it looks. The original comics for The Boys were initially published by Wildstorm, a subsidiary of DC Comics, before moving over to Dynamite Entertainment. And don't worry that it's all about DC here. The Boys' second season is also off to a good start with its potshots at Marvel, like Homelander making fun of the idea of having a visually impaired hero named Blindspot, who is obviously pretty inspired by Daredevil. Season 2 begins with the boys in a rough spot. Not only are they hiding out underneath a pawn shop as wanted criminals, but there's no Butcher, and that means no leadership. In his absence, Hughie tries to get his teammates to do things a bit differently and entertain other ideas. But this doesn't seem to fly, especially when Butcher returns with new motivations. It isn't long before their personalities clash and punches start flying between the two. Hughie has always been a bit of a moral center for the group, and a member of the team even points this out in episode 3.
He's your canary.
What canary?
You let your canary die? How you gonna know when you've gone too far?
This is all fine, two headstrong people working through their issues. But for those familiar with the comics, this initial physical confrontation is also an unpleasant foreshadowing. Without going into major spoilers, the stories the show is based on see Butcher and Hughie experiencing a much greater disagreement on what needs to be done at the end of a long and depressing road with a lot of lives held in the balance. The two wind up doing a little more than just punching each other at that point. If the show follows suit, this will be a moment to look back on and see where it started. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.